Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of D-Scammer. I'm your host Foma. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Michael, a renowned IT expert and an entrepreneur in this field. Today we will discuss cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and quantum computing. Michael, it's fantastic to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Can you present yourself a little bit, please?
Yeah, so I have an IT background. I worked for a couple of big IT companies locally here in Russia, Yandex, Russian helicopters, and Kaspersky, basically as a software consultant. So when a company gets an idea or a conception, they need to write the software, but the software needs design. So at London Metropolitan University, I got 93% for soft systems analysis and design methodology. So you learn how to do data flow diagrams, data charts, ERPs, entity relationship diagrams. And you know, a database would need these kind of designs. Basically, little squares and pictures showing you where the data needs to go with the software. Then the program comes and he writes the software, like the object classes and so on, how these objects need to behave to fit into the design, which is doing what the company wants to do.
It is really difficult.
Yeah, so also networking. My other major was networking engineering. So things like server rack mounts, hubs, and interconnectivity, open systems interconnect, those things. I also have that experience. So banks, critical systems, keeping them online, redundant database systems, database management systems, business intelligence. That's kind of my thing. I'm writing Android program apps in
Even Android programs.
in C#. Yeah, those sell really well. So it's quite a lucrative business. You could do an app in 3 months and get millions.
In such a short period of time?
Yeah.
It is really cool. Thank you for presenting yourself.
Sure.
So my first question will be, what is quantum computing?
So quantum computing, quant obviously means four.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, usually computers are doing calculations and sums and so on using bits. So a bit is a 0 or a 1. It's either on or off. So a light on off, electricity on off. So this is the bit, and each character in a computer is 8 bits. So what quantum computers do is they exist in 2 places at the same time, and they are doing double here and double here. So now you have 4 streams of data, quadrupling the computing power, and what they can do is break like 256-bit encryption. I think it was said 5 minutes, which a normal computer would take, I think 16 months or something, years even. So
Such a big difference.
Scary concept. I think I stand on a correction. Google has a quantum computer, and
So
that's
there
how
is
we.
only one quantum computer on the
As
earth.
far as I know, but come on, I think Elon Musk has one too.
He has one.
He has one,
100%.
absolutely, yeah.
So what do you think about the ethics pertaining to companies' employees who are running built-in software programs?
Mm-hmm.
Selling your personal information or running processes that are not exactly approved by departmental managers?
Yeah, this is a very good question, as well as I think an ethical question. Everybody wants to benefit. Everybody wants to get something. So if I work for a company, say for example, I'm the database administrator, and I do a select all the names from database account holders where salary is larger than X amount, and I want their phone numbers. Oh, and marital status equals single, you know. You could export this database, put a USB into the computer. It's now here. And now another guy comes from another company and does a bribe, and you sell this. So it's non-regulated, the physical data breach, which means you're going to have data corruption, data loss things, and it's a big security issue from a management perspective. The collective term for all these shady practices is actually shadow IT. So things you want to keep secret, things that you don't want anybody to know about. So another problem why it's a risk for companies, these systems are not part of the original design and development process, right? So they are not patched, they're not updated. And now let's say the manager, the IT guy, updates the usual software, but you're piggybanking other forms of software, it's going to break, you know. So it's really risky. It's a big problem.
So you need to update everything at the same time.
Well, if there's an update, let's say you and I say, okay, we're going to run this little piece of software that skims 1 cent off every transaction of the bank, right? We don't have to do nothing. We just plug in our USB. Now the software updates, and your program
Will not work on the new
exactly
version.
systems interconnect. These systems are relying on one another to pass data very accurately. You have IP number here, IP number here. And through the firewall, you have all these port numbers, 65,000 of them.
Is it possible to make a system that is compatible with the older versions?
It's called backward compatibility, yeah. This, when you update it, you need to bear in mind that there is a dependent system in the background, a process running. So as a manager, let's say you wanted software, you could ask for that. So yeah, it is an ethical problem running these programs, and there's also the user, the people. The problem between the computer and the chair is you. You are the problem. It's not the computer. So companies, when they get data breaches, they want to cut people out of the picture. You can't go in the server room. You can't open the door, you can't touch the keyboard, and you can't plug in a USB. That system is secure.
That system is secure. All right, moving on. Can you think of any examples from your personal life where you were suspect of such deviant practices?
Sure, quite a few times. Currently, there's been like a kind of a bank scam going on. The banks or even mobile phone operators, they're phishing, literally phishing for your personal information. Your username, your phone number, your address, your passport number.
All of your personal information.
When you reset your password on any website, it wants to know one of these things. So now I know your name, I got your database, I got your number from a database which I bribed a mobile phone company employee with. Oh, I know the guy, he works in the IT at XYZ mobile company. So he gives me a database of names and phone numbers. If I log into a website with your name and your phone number and I click forgot password, it's going to send a SMS code to your phone. So the guy phones me and I have a caller identity on my phone, right? So my phone rings and I see Dubai. What? Dubai? Who's calling me from Dubai? It's miles away, it's very far. And I pick up the phone and he's like talking to me and he calls me Sergey. And he says he's from my mobile phone company. I'm like, no, you're not. My mobile phone company knows my name, right? And at this point, I knew he's trying to phish me to reset my password.
Yes.
I'm going to send you an SMS. Just tell me what's the code, right? Now he's resetting your password and he's getting the SMS confirmation from you over the phone. So yeah, this is unethical hacking. Absolutely unethical, but there's recently been thousands of these examples where they go into a call center, like the whole floor of a building is call centers running these kinds of telephone call center scams. So this is just one example from my personal life where
there are thousands of them.
Thousands of ideas. Criminals are very good of thinking of how to get to deviant. To go around the usual system. Yeah, it's a big problem nowadays. So people need to be wisen up, watch things like DI scammers, watch these shows. How are you going to get an awareness? You need to protect yourself, right? So for me, it's very interesting from an IT guy perspective.
Thank you so much for your answer. It was really interesting.
Sure.
Do ISPs know what sites you're visiting? And are the big search engine companies watching us?
So like I said, there are protocols and standards for IT. Usually it's a source and a destination. And this thing has a number and this thing has a number. And in between this spider web of details. So now the IT guy is sitting at the source. He's watching all the internet traffic. So there's like very simple tools like TCP IP. It shows source port, destination port, ports 65, one of 65,000 of them. And IP numbers. So the ISP guy, the internet service provider, knows which site you went to on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Obviously, that's how they're sending you this marketing information, how they're emailing you ways of selling you stuff. Have you ever been to like Google and you search for a pair of sneakers and the next minute on your phone, you're looking at an advertisement?
Always.
That's what I'm saying. The ISPs are absolutely watching your data, and I mean,
Are they listening to you?
yes. So there's a setting on your phone. There's a setting on your phone. It's called sensors on and sensors off, which developers can use. So your sensor could be your camera, could be your microphone, could be your biometric. When you pick up your phone, it starts taking photographs. And then you push your fingerprint, it's got the photo, and that's your biometric security. So besides IT watching us, yes, to answer your question, all of these systems are absolutely watching us, listening to us, recording your calls. We don't listen to your calls. ISP guy, we don't share your IP number. Okay, well then how does Google and all these guys know about it if they don't do it? We don't on paper, but in reality, 100%, they are all watching us actually very closely.
And what do you think about governments? Do they have the right to break laws in order to prevent crime, achieve cybersecurity or national security this way? Can they achieve it?
So in the vein of national security, if someone is going to hurt all of us, absolutely, break all the rules, explode some batteries, do what you need to do. You need to protect us. This is national security. So, but then you get to like the normal guy, like Joe Blogs. He's sitting on the McDonald's internet cafe and he's trying to transfer money to his wife using his bank. And certain clandestine agencies, shall we call them that, they are able to transverse through your firewall. You know, you have your computer's ports, they have a wall here. And this port needs to be opened. So they go straight through this wall and they don't need firewalls. And the recent software, which was very interesting, it's called Thin Thread.
Thin thread.
Like a piece of cotton. Like imagine this. This is a thin thread. Imagine now you have a firewall on your computer, and Thin Thread does this. I mean,
Just goes through it.
that's why it's called Thin Thread. So Edward Snowden, the famous whistleblower, he recently acquired Russian citizenship, and he said that he was working in the IT department, developing the software to watch bank transactions like Bitcoin mining, but actually hijack them. And the point was to take the money away from terrorists. So imagine the government has the ability to take all the money out of your account. 100% will not disclose that. Yeah, we did it, right? We took your money. So it's done very secretively in the background. So for the point of counterterrorism or anti-crime prevention or something like this, I think it is ethical. So the point is, why did Edward Snowden complain about developing the Thin Thread software? Because it wasn't used for the intention for crime prevention. They started using it for political purposes. Oh, I'm a Democrat, he's a Republican.
Still, they use personal
He won't
information.
notice if I take 50,000. He won't even notice. So yeah, and this is when I have another example if you want.
No, of course.
So that's it's digital scammers. So digital computers, laptops, notebooks, satellites, any other kind of device. So the other device is a mobile phone. So everybody knows, your phone is great. It doesn't get a virus. It doesn't really break. Now and then, like once every 3 years, you might do a factory reset. Have you ever noticed your phone like freezes?
Yeah, sometimes.
You push the button and it doesn't do anything.
It just stops working.
Now it's being overloaded with traffic to make it break so that a kind of a thin thread can get in there. So Israel has a very controversial piece of software at the moment called Pegasus. And this Pegasus software, like Thin Thread, goes straight through your phone. And it's been sold to third-party governments, and obviously it's been used for political purposes, unethically, not for national security, not for protection. It's political, selfish gain. So yeah, those are the two controversial / sensitive examples I have for you. Probably the heaviest questions we will get tonight. So those two examples are open source information, publicly available. It's not like I found out this information.
It is publicly available.
It's publicly available. The software was called Thin Thread. I mean, the Edward Snowden documents, they're known as a pack of docs. So.
Now, along this line, what about hackers getting into your computer via public internet?
Okay, so this
Is it
this
easy?
is the true cybersecurity specialist, and this is the true hacking of the nature. It's not about a USB stick, and it's not about an employee just being bribed and stealing things, more in a physical, tangible sense. This is true hacking. I'm sitting on a Wi-Fi somewhere, my IP number is spoofed, and I've gotten into some corporate system just to break it or leave a smiley face on the desktop. Kilroy was here. So this is where basically in order to get into a system, the first thing you need to do is get on a network. That's not a private network.
On the same network with the person you want to steal information from.
Yes. So you would, once you're on the network with the correct IP ranges, then you can run something called an ARP attack. ARP attacks, they literally divulge the nodes, which is computers on the network's IP numbers, as well as MAC addresses. So not like Mac, like Apple Mac. Every computer has an IP number and a MAC address. It's a long string of numbers like this. So first thing you do, you run an ARP.
Every device has a different one.
Yes. Macs, computers, they have MAC numbers, MAC address numbers, and IP numbers. So anyway, you would run this ARP attack on the network, and it discovers all the devices on the network. It sees them and tells you their numbers. So it's kind of like pirate software that bad guys wrote that's not on download.com. You can search for hacking tools. I don't know if you go to the dark web or you use an onion, you can find this ARP attack software. After that, you need to overload the system. So imagine this system has a 5 gigahertz processor, 16 gigahertz RAM, XYZ numbers. But on the networking side, this little EEPROM, the software on that network device, can only handle so many packets per second. And what the hackers do is they overload it.
So it will be easier to hack it.
Yeah. Imagine you send a ping which tells you the time to leave from this source to this computer. Let's say it takes 0.1 milliseconds. And it's used to receiving packets that are 5 kilobits big. Now the hacker sends a 50 megabyte ping request to this tiny little chip on your networking, and it goes, I can't handle this.
Overload.
And it freezes like the phone. Now the hacker can, usually a DIL file, a dynamic link library file is broken this way, or disabled, or you have a memory leak. So now the computer is stuck, blue screen of death, and the hacker got in through this way. Quickly downloading your My Documents files, whatever, a zip file, BIOS.
Everything that he wants.
It's kind of limited to the amount of traffic, because now the system's
if it is a big
stuck.
overload, he can download nearly everything.
You can download an image of it, absolutely a list of it, but not the actual file. But he can at least see the information. Imagine it's like taking a photo with a camera. There's all the data. Here's the directory structure. Here's the list of employees. If you were browsing the network. So yes, that is how they would do it. Like real true hackers, how they get in. There's also other ways, but those are the two common ways. You spoof the network, then you overload it, and once you're in, it depends what you want to do.
Now that we're more aware of the ways hackers behave out there, I'm sure that many of our viewers would like to know, how can just the everyday student or user protect themselves from these exploits?
So exactly. So like I said, corporate networks, they have a group of computers on there. Students are on their university network, a
lot of students are
on
in
their
cafes or
library.
public and network.
Public and private networks, and they need to protect themselves. They might be studying with another group of cybersecurity programmers and IT guys. And who are they going to try their software out on your university's network, your corporate network? So obviously there's a firewall, and there are 65,000 ports. Do you know how many ports your computer needs to use the internet?
How many?
1. Port 80. Port 80 is for HTTP, Hyper-Terminal Transfer Protocol communications.
Why do you need 64,000 more?
Exactly. You can block them on the firewall. You can just create a firewall rule. Try. You go to advanced firewall settings, create firewall rule by port number range, and then you go from 80 plus 1, from 81 to 65,000, deny connection.
Deny connection.
These are all blocked. Microsoft has them open for many different reasons. Your media player, which wants to connect a download list, your little weather pop-up, each one of these is communicating. So all the hacker does is he says, I'm the weather program app. He's lying. I'm in. So why is this port open if someone can just kind of use identity theft as a way of breaching this system? So you just block all the ports. HTTPS uses another number. So there are some, maybe 5 or 6. When I went crazy with cybersecurity, I tried to block every single port except the port I was using. So that's what I would recommend. Also, you can tell your computer to deny ping requests. Don't even answer. If someone says, what's your phone number? What's your phone number? What's your IP number? And you just say, I'm not telling you. Okay, the hacker can't get in. So I recommend students figure out some kind of a port hack. If you are an entrepreneur, imagine developing a program, secure my firewall. It won't cost you a lot of money. Students, they need to know these things. I mean, you don't need all these ports.
It is a nice advice for them, for us.
As an entrepreneur, yes, 100%. You could benefit. You could really make some money out of this. I think I just got a good idea. I'll go back to the drawing board and design a program.
So, to wrap up, are we truly safe? Are there any real secure systems out there?
This makes me think about offline computers, firstly. The first thing I do when I'm paranoid is I unplug the network cable. Disconnected. And then I turn off the wireless. So now I think the computer is offline. Meanwhile, there are ways that even through the power cable, it's another state of on and off. You can get
even from the power cable.
Even through the power cable. The power grid in some countries is watched by the spy agencies, the military. They exist in an IT level in the power grid.
It is scary.
So remove the human from the computer, remove the power from the computer and disconnect it, and what do you have? Basically, you have a hard drive, right?
Yeah, a hard drive.
It's useless, but that in essence would be a totally secure system. Have you ever seen movies where the military are running around with these notebooks that look like cyber trucks?
Yes, I do.
It's 100% offline, unsmashable, no USB ports, no Bluetooth, and no wireless. But somehow they are using it on their own communication signals, frequencies, protocols, programming languages. I bet you it's running Linux. So for me, that's the most secure system.
Thank you for your wonderful insights today, Michael. And thank you for joining me. To our audience, thank you for tuning in. Goodbye. Thank you again, Michael.
Thank you.